ReleaseWire helps businesses connect with interested journalists and bloggers. Check out the link in the description to save 25% on your first press release.
Admiral, radar shows that we have liberals approaching at 3 o'clock, and libertarians at 9 o'clock, and conservatives at 6 o'clock. They're coming from every angle, every viewpoint. Oh, it's Political Radar with your hosts, Rhonda and Elliot.
Hey, all you political junkies. Welcome to Political Radar, the best 30 minutes of unscripted and uncensored political talk you will hear all day long. Episode 50.
Big 50.
Woo, 50.
Yeah.
That's unreal.
And that's the extent of my birthday party when I turn 50. That's all I want.
Which was when? Sorry. Okay. So we're going to move right into what we're going to talk about today, which is local government, which is
awesome.
Near and dear to my heart. If you want to take your country back, right? Pay attention to local government.
Absolutely.
Get engaged. Pay attention. Run for office. Check out, basically what's going on in your local government scene. City, county, school board. There's so much happening. Much happening.
Yes, there is.
Maybe we should put on a boot camp, like for people who want to run.
Honestly, I'm about ready to start thinking about doing things like that for people. We need a movement. We need people to pay more attention.
Absolutely.
One person that is paying a lot of attention, and we're so grateful, is Bill Meindl, who we tried to figure out what we would even call you today. But I believe that you are a local government blogger. You're committed to all the issues. You're at almost every meeting. You're unbelievable.
Well, thank you. That's very kind.
Our community activist.
I don't know if it's even that. It's just like you literally, and I have to say this because I sit by you and I have been for a while at meetings, and I watch you take notes and absorb everything. And then all of a sudden the next day, it's like verbatim out there. I don't know how you do that. How do you do that? What's your secret? What are you doing? How do you do that?
Pay attention. There's a bad habit among some reporters when they're at meetings of not paying attention. They're on their electronic devices. They're wandering off because you never know what's going to be said at any given second. So you have to pay attention. You have to be all ears, and you're there to record and to observe, and then later on you can figure out what it all means.
So I would have to believe that you are a person who has made a huge difference. I think that, you have this blog on Skyscraper City, which some people aren't aware of what that is. Can you explain what that is?
Well, it's an international website devoted to development all around the world. And within the website, there are divisions devoted to different cities, different topics within the international community. And Green Bay has its own page there called Green Bay Development News, which people started up some years ago, which I glommed onto. My name is Tower Park.
Everybody has aliases, right?
Yes, most people have aliases.
I don't understand that. I don't know why you would not use your real name there. Like that always weirds me out. I like knowing who I'm talking to.
I think initially it was this, like, this predates a lot of Facebook conversation. So, right. So then true. What that does is that actually there weren't, people weren't as comfortable of being so public with their opinions and views. And so I'm sure that's what that was all about, right?
Yes.
But now we're all like, you need totally to hear true. Me, so
that's totally true. And and everything else is really that way. Facebook's really the only place.
No one cares anymore. There's no secrets. So you have over 5,000 posts on Skyscraper City. That's really impressive. Since 2008.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I didn't either. That's a lot.
I looked into it a little bit.
Yeah. That's far too many.
No, it's that shows a lot of commitment on your part. Okay, so let's get right to the juicy stuff. So what's happening right now, the Green Bay City Council met last night. They had a special council meeting to discuss the East Town Mall proposal, which, let's be clear to make sure people understand, this is really just a term sheet. So really what this is, hey, we want to do some business in Green Bay. So we want to come in and have this, vetted out in the committee process, which is what has to happen first. They were not voting on a proposal that would start, they wouldn't start putting, shovels in the ground tomorrow.
Right.
Which I think some of the elders didn't realize, still after how many years of being on the council. But this is a term sheet. This says we can proceed. We can come into your city. We can go through committee and we can try to work this out. And initially this happened, a few months back. So this was the third time this was brought back for consideration.
Right.
And it is because two alders decided that they might want to look at it again. Do you want to have your say? Because I watched the live feed before I came in, and I have a lot of things to say about that experience. But what are your feelings right now on what happened, and why do you think, it did get passed 8-3 with one, person abstained, which we'll also talk about. What do you think about that?
Well, the bottom line is, in my opinion, the right and the best decision for the city of Green Bay was made. It was a convoluted process. They went back and forth. They had to do some refiguring, but in the end, they made the right decision. And ultimately, that's the bottom line. Politics isn't always a straight line from A to B to C. It wiggles and wags, and that's what happened on this issue. So I give credit to the alders who are willing to take a look again at this issue, to think about it, to talk about it, to investigate it further and make a good decision. I think there was some remorse on behalf of some of the alders after the way the vote had gone previously on this issue. And I think they said to themselves, oops, maybe we missed an opportunity here. Maybe we don't want this to pass on by. And give a lot of credit to the city's economic development director, Kevin Vaughn, for being able to bring the developers back to the table. They had walked. They had said, we put our best offer on the table. This is it. And they had been negotiating with the city for half a year. They had made concessions. They said, this is as far as we can go. And they had, if you're not interested, we're gone. And they did leave. And to his credit, Kevin Vaughn was able to bring them back to the table remarkably. And they've accepted the decision, certainly, of the council that it made last night. So
okay,
give credit to a lot of people.
So think about this, though. So let's backtrack. This was on the table, maybe in October?
Twice in October.
Okay. So I think some of this could have been avoided, actually, because, yes, they did change their minds, and then they're willing to look at it again. But I guess one thing that I think, there was discussion about this. This was just a term sheet. This was not a vote to really, start the process and have it happen. This was a term sheet. This is, are you willing to talk to us? That's what this was.
It's an initial stage.
Why wasn't this a unanimous vote in the first place? I think a lot of this drama would have been avoided had these aldermen decided, of course we're going to. This is, they've complained for years about the development is not downtown. Why is it in my district? Guess what? It was in your district, Andy Dinkelson. It was in your district, and it was really close to your district, Tom Duane. Why did you even balk at that? Why wasn't there some sort of, unanimous vote where we're willing to look at this in the first place? That's what I think people are wondering. It's great that they changed their mind, but now what we have is we have alders like Guy Zima and Andy Nicholson who are for 40 minutes last night during that meeting discussing, is this even legal? Can we do this? Can we revisit this? And they can. The city attorney said that the RDA can actually revisit and put something on its agenda and bypass committee and then send it to the council. And, there was so much energy spent on, is this even legal? And so now it's become this toxic, swarming of power, really. When in the first place, are we going to be a city that's not even willing to talk to developers in the first place? That's not a good idea. So I'm hoping that these people learn from this experience, that if they see a term sheet, they're willing to even talk about it. When did this happen?
You're absolutely right, Rhonda. This is a term sheet. It's an initial stage of the process. That is to be followed by the full development agreement. And that's the final decision on the development agreement as to whether to go ahead with the project or not and to have city involvement in the project or not. The term sheet is just an initial stage that says we're interested, let's develop this further, let's go into it, let's hash out all the details, let's get it down in writing, and then go from there.
And some of the details are, and what we're talking about right now is the East Town Mall, which has been a pretty stagnant piece of development out there that's just been sitting there, nothing's happening. Somebody wants to come in and do something with it, and they're asking for $3 million.
Correct.
Right? So they're asking for $1 million in demolition and $1 million for, I'm a little bit confused about this. The library is a piece of this as well?
Possibly. One of the potential tenants would be the East Branch Library, the Brown County Library System. That's not confirmed. That's not for certain that would happen, but that's being proposed, as well as a sporting goods store, a Fresh Time Farmers Market, and then 2 other retail spaces. There would be 5 retail spaces in this revised mall configuration. The library may come in, the library may not. That's for a decision the county will have to make. But it sounds to me like there potentially could be some backup plans if the library does not decide to come through with it.
And so really what they're going to do is they're going to take the configuration, they're going to make it where you can actually, you're entering every store from outside. There's
Correct.
no inner circle. There's no, as typically how a mall is and how they are laid out. None of that's happening,
That's
which is
right.
what they're doing. So really what it mimics is Main Street, right?
The inner courtyard would be eliminated. It's becoming more a shopping center than a mall.
Which is what people want. It's more walkable in the fact that you can just enter whatever store you want to go to. You don't have to go into the big courtyard. And
rather than having 24 smaller stores, you would have 5 larger stores. That's another big difference as well, too.
So right now we're in the process of it's going to go to committee. So it's going to committee. They're going to start talking about it, correct? I mean, that is what's happening.
Well, the term sheet was approved right now, so that gives the go-ahead to Kevin Vonk and the mayor and the rest of the city staff to proceed with working on the development agreement.
Yep.
And the expectation is that if not by the end of this year, sometime early next year, they'll come back to the city council and to the redevelopment authority for approval or not of the development agreement. And that's where the city council will have another say, the redevelopment authority will have another say. In total, it's a $12 million project, and the proposition is for $3 million in public financing.
So they're willing to pay how much of it?
$9 million.
Right.
Right. So it's TIF financing. That's to incentivize developers to come to your community to do projects in your community. They're doing that all around the state, all around the country. It's part of the toolbox of development that municipalities use all over.
Okay, so I have a question for both of you.
Uh-oh.
And Tom Dwayne made a mention of this during the meeting. So Festival Foods came in and they wanted more money, and it was a unanimous vote. What do you think this is? Why do you think there were 3 people that didn't approve of this, and then one person actually didn't even bother voting? Because I guess that's not really his job, is to vote. Well, what do you think about that?
Well, so in defense of that, there has to be a point where we turn something down, right? We can't just say yes to everyone when there's public money on the table, because even though it gets paid back through TIF, we can run out of money, and we can create bad situations. I feel like it sort of creates this moral hazard, and I know that these guys on council allude to this sometimes, and that guy says everybody's here with their hand out, right? Are we ever going to have any development where hands aren't out? So I understand that, and I think in this particular circumstance, to be fair to these guys, I think we are hard on them when we say, how come you didn't talk about that earlier? So they're trying to get involved early in the process, not in the right way, but they're trying to voice some concerns right away so that, they can kind of come to an agreement at the end.
It'd be nice though if they would actually look at the information. I found it really mind-numbingly, I was just blown away. Watching the live stream, which, by the way, you can go to the City of Green Bay YouTube and you can watch all of these meetings if you can't make them, which, a lot of people can't, but you can watch this all happening. So Andy Nicholson, who is the District, 3 council person, District 3, I'm pretty sure, District 3 council person, he needed at least 15 minutes of explanation of how to even read the agenda. I have watched this man over and over and over again open up his packet right before the meeting starts. You have a job. Your job is to come prepared. That means open it up, check it out. Now, people have argued that maybe he looks at it online, but his comments during the meeting tell me that he really isn't. He's not engaged. He's not committed. He's not really interested in the details.
There are many good members on the city council where if a big development were to come to their district, they would sit down with the developer, they would sit down with their constituents, they would
Yes.
sit down with their neighbors. Okay, what do you think? What's going on here? Tell me what's up. Ask questions, investigate, do some study, do some research. I'd be very surprised if Andy Nicholson did any of that.
Well, apparently he didn't even look at the agenda because he, again, needed to be spoon-fed on what it even said in the first place. He wasn't sure about if this was proper protocol. I mean, you were given notice of this and you didn't check with someone over the weekend to see if you could even have...
All they had to do was ask the city attorney, has this been properly handled? And she said last night it has, but it took him 45 minutes to get through all of that.
But he could have actually asked her that when the notice was sent out. He could have asked her that yesterday. He could have asked her that, over the weekend. He is an alderman.
Or just knowing the answer because he's been there for so long.
That's right. So he constantly needs so much stroking and explanation. And I mean, people, he needs a tutorial on TIF at this point. He really doesn't get it, right?
Right.
And it's his own district. He should be all over that.
He voted against the interests of his own district. He initially voted against this project, and then last night he abstained.
Okay, let's talk about abstaining because I'm sorry. That's not what you're elected for.
Yeah. What's your opinion on abstentions? I'm always bothered by that. I think it's okay to voice, like if you feel like you have an interest that, follows a development or doesn't, or is in conflict to it, but their job is to vote. So like an abstention should be really the extreme exception to the rule, I think.
I agree with that. I think there's probably some situations where an abstention is valid and there's a good reason for it. I can't think of anything offhand, but I'm sure there are.
Yeah.
But I think in the case of last night, one word comes to mind, cop-out.
Yeah.
I think he may have caught some heat, perhaps, for voting no against this project in the past, and now he can say, well, I didn't vote against it.
Right. To me, that just is gamesmanship.
And Guy Zimmer has played that game as well.
All the
If you're
time.
not going to directly benefit from the vote itself, I don't know, like stadium tax refund money. If I own a home and
But
I'm
even
going
so, like I think it's okay to just voice your opposition or your conflict of interest in most cases.
and even explain it. So we're at this point, he doesn't even feel that he
I think
has
you should have to be
a
asked.
reason.
I think you should have to be asked to abstain. Really, because if you're that close to it, I don't think you can make that decision on your own. And I think that you should almost be asked by
Well,
somebody
let's go back to his constituents, okay? A man doesn't get, you don't circle the little box next to his name. I want you to not vote. I want you to not even have anything to say about what's in our district, what's literally in our district, the tax revenue that could be in our district, the opportunities that have been given to us. I want you to just sit back, throw your tantrum, and not vote. More people need to know that this is happening. These people can't be doing that.
Does he know that's his district?
Yes,
I'm not
I'm sure he does.
I'm being sarcastic,
Facetious, yeah.
but I love saving taxpayers' money. I think that's important to have a focus on efficiency and cuts where possible, but I don't understand that.
I can tell you another situation where I suspect when it comes down to the final vote where it could very well happen again, where there'll be either a vote no or a vote abstention voting against the interests of your own district, will be on the downtown stadium issue with Guy Zimmer. He has been the leading opponent of that project. It's in his own district, and ultimately he'll abstain or vote against it, I suspect.
But they have all the information. I mean, he kept saying, and even he has said the same thing, we don't have enough. We haven't vetted it. How much do you need to know? I mean, and really, at the end of the day, we know exactly what you're doing. You're trying to set up the mayor. That is what you're doing. These guys show up every day to basically do whatever they can to pull the power from the chair. That is what they're doing. That is the only thing they're interested in at this point.
Mr. Zimmer says that all the time about vetting. He says whenever he doesn't like a project, he says it needs more vetting. And he'll do anything to try to muck up the gears, to try to postpone
Unless
it.
it's Walmart, then he's all about it.
And that's what he tried to do.
Was he all about that?
You're so funny. All right, let's go to John Vanderleest, because I thought another person that's not really, he's not, I wouldn't say he's pro-development. He's definitely just, he likes to say no a lot as well. He voted no on this.
He's even farther right on the political scale than Guy Zima is.
For sure.
Yeah.
He wants more discussion. How much more discussion do you have? Because all they want to do is discuss it. That's the point. Like another person on the council that doesn't understand this is a term sheet. This is the discussion. They want to start the discussion. That's what they want to do. That's why they're going to proceed.
I
So
think,
if you want more discussion, then you proceed with the term
Sure.
sheet.
sure.
But he voted no.
Yes, as could be expected. I think if I could just enumerate, there are three main reasons why alders who oppose the project or abstain from the project did so last night and have so in recent weeks. Number one, they didn't realize, or I should say why they wanted to revisit the issue. They didn't realize that the developer had put its final offer on the table, and they voted thinking that we could go back to them again and again and have them renegotiate. And eventually, and at some point, the developer said, no, this is as far as we'll go. I think another reason there's an anti-mayor sentiment. The mayor is for this project, so we're going to vote against it because the mayor
Absolutely.
is for it. And then also they didn't like the public financing aspect of the $3 million in TIF financing for the project. So I think those were three main reasons why alders were voting no against this project or abstaining.
And then it's just still a mystery why you just aren't bothered to vote at all.
Well, the thing is, exactly. And the thing is, this mall has been underperforming, some say distressed, for years. It's half vacant on the inside, the mall proper itself. This is the only developer who's shown interest, who's come forward and said, yes, we're interested. We do this. We've done this in more than 24 other occasions across the country, largely in the Midwest. We're willing to take a look at this. We're willing to invest. And it's an opportunity for the city, a great opportunity.
So the people that voted no, Chris Weary, John Vanderleest,
Guy Zima.
Guy Zima, and then I can't be bothered. I don't know what I'm doing. Abstain vote of Andy Nicholson.
In whose district?
In his own district.
Yes.
Right. I thought it was interesting, the comment he made about, people they don't even go to libraries anymore. That he had an issue with the mayor, right? Something with the library piece of this.
Right.
But they're just a tenant.
Well,
So,
the irony there is Andy Nicholson is also on the county board, and he didn't realize what the process is for approving a new location for the East Branch Library.
Yep.
The lease for the current location of the East Branch Library, which is on Main Street in a small strip mall, expires in February. So if they do not extend the lease, they have to find another location. And they've been considering sites both in Green Bay and Bellevue. And I think one of the advantages is if this East Hall Mall project does happen, it'll keep that branch within the city of Green Bay.
Of course. And that's not something he actually wanted to know who goes to libraries. He doesn't think people go to libraries anymore.
well, so that's probably a poor way of saying it, but I think it is fair to say what is the utilization of that branch. I think that, if we're going to invest millions of dollars or whatever the amount that is sort of earmarked for the library, I think it's fair to wonder how many people go there.
It really comforts me to know that someone like him is going to be looking into that not.
Well, he didn't even understand the procedure for how the library issue would be handled. It would most likely be a recommendation from the Brown County Library Board, which would go to the full Brown County Board, and then the Brown County Board itself will make the ultimate decision if and when and where to relocate.
Wow. So again, it comes back to serving your district, serving the people that elected you, serving your constituents. I know you are not a fan of term limits, but at a certain point when you are so lazy, I'm kidding. You are so lazy and
That was good deadpan.
you can't be bothered to even look into the information. To me, this is what I got out of this. I pretty much knew this would probably pass, and I'm really glad that they changed their minds. I'm suspect of their reasons, and I know you know that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all should be. I think we should think about these things. It's like, this could have been avoided. This situation could have been avoided. We do not need more toxic energy put into the council right now with what's happening.
I agree.
I want to move on to, future discussions about possibly what's going to happen with the mayor. What's your feeling there? I mean, he has a court hearing coming up on December 5th for sentencing, correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and the council, I fully expect, I think Zima's drooling, waiting for that court date to move on as a committee of a whole and vote him off. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I've heard out there's probably 4 or 5, maybe more people who are thinking of running for mayor if the mayor should be removed from office. Offhand, I'm not sure any of the candidates would be any better than the current mayor. As you know, my opinion of the mayor is that if someone were to ever write another history of the city of Green Bay, they may very well find that he's been one of the more accomplished mayors in the city. He served longer than anyone has in that position, so that's given him an opportunity to do more, but he's taken an advantage of that opportunity. I mean, it's stunning just in terms of development, which is an issue that I'm interested in and follow for Green Bay Development News on Skyscraper City. It's just stunning, all the development that's going on in Green Bay and downtown and elsewhere, and I don't know that people fully appreciate that.
I'm not sure he fully appreciates that.
The he being
Mm-hmm.
who?
The mayor?
The mayor.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he fully appreciates what he's done.
I don't know. He has a bit of a what would be the better? He can be difficult to work with at times. I think people find it would be easy to say, but I think people need to get beyond that and look at the results. He's energetic. He's a doer. He gets things done. He is accomplished. I think there's a lot to be said for what he's pulled off as mayor of the city of Green Bay. I don't like what he did in terms of campaign financing. It was illegal. He should have owned up to it from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
He'll have to face his punishment for that. But I'm not convinced at this point that he should be removed from office.
So if that does happen, that he is removed, because I've been told the votes are there. They need 9 votes to do that.
Be careful of what you wish for.
I'm not wishing for it.
Yeah.
That's
I
just
don't think any of the three of us wish for it.
No. What I don't wish for, honestly, and I'm just going to say this, I don't wish for any more of what I witnessed last night. When people are watching this, when developers and future, people that want to come to Green Bay and do business, when they're witnessing this spectacle, when we have alders that can't even read their agenda, which I'm sorry, he's trying to stall. He's trying to muck up the system. That's all that is.
Exactly.
When we have a system in place that, to them, this is just fun. It's some creepy sense of power that they have, that they can do this. But to people outside of this that are watching this, that want to do business in Green Bay, they take one look at that and they say, nope, not interested. That's a liability issue. Now we have a liability issue. So really and truly, I support the mayor. I support what he did. I absolutely support a lot of the development.
In terms of development.
Right, in development. But I think it's a slippery slope when we're allowing our city government to just constantly have passes at things that they do because they, it's like you do great things here. Well, this is okay then. I think we need to raise the bar in general. I think in local government, if we want people to pay attention, if we want people to take us seriously, if we want people to get engaged and run for office, if we want someone to look at that and make it attractive, we have to clean the shit up because it's shitty. It is. There's a lot of it that is. Yeah. And it starts with the chair. I think I would have loved to have seen him resign. I think he should have. I think he could go out.
Call the bluff, you mean?
I think he could go out and say, you know what? I love this city. I feel very strongly about, what I've done. And I will forever champion what happens here. I'm going to start with myself. I'm going to start with owning up to what I did. I'm going to start with saying, you know what? This wasn't good. And I recognize that. And I don't want my legacy to be remembered as the guy that had to be, scooted out of the room. I don't think that's very smart.
In the very least, the mayor needs to make an apology to the people of Green Bay for what happened.
Something. And I'm not sure what's going to happen in the future, but I believe that we don't see a lot of leadership happening in general. I don't see it from him. I don't see it from any of the elders, really. I don't see it. That's not true. I'm not going to say that. There are some people out there that are on the council that are taking a stand and they're calling out some of it. I mean, I think actually.
Well, there's some things that he's had leadership on in the past, and
that's nice. We're talking about right now, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, but,
they have to be smart about this.
Yeah.
Look at the country in general. Right. Look at the apathy in general for government. Period. Right. If you do not understand that your local government is just, it's where it begins and sometimes it's where it ends. And I think that that's something people have to start putting more energy into. But they're not going to do that when, we allow corruption, when we allow temper tantrums, and when we allow people to abstain and not even be bothered to show up. That's taxpayer money that is out there. And this is the best they have. This is what they can do with it. So if they really want people to start taking us seriously, they need to behave better.
Well,
it's embarrassing.
on the positive side, if that's a way to put it, this was not city money that was involved. This was campaign funds. So there was no corruption involved in terms of city funding, city finances, city dollars. It was the mayor's campaign fund, which he pretty much, it looks to me, ran himself, which was a mistake. He should have had a treasurer, in fact, not just in name, who is handling and administrating that. Have a second person. And it looks to me, I'm just an outsider looking in, I don't know necessarily the inside story on this story, but it looks to me like he was trying to do it all himself.
But I guess that's my point. It's like leadership, legitimacy. You are the mayor. You can have a treasurer. You can actually, have someone do this for you. I mean, recognize that because, again, he's not stupid. He's a really smart guy. Mm-hmm. He knows half the time, I'm sure he's busy. He's out there. He's doing whatever, but he knows what he's doing. And I feel that that's something you have to own that.
I think he should apologize. I think he should be punished, but I'm not convinced that removal from office is warranted in this case. But I'm open to hearing other.
I think what the problem with that is, I think people have a fear of what's next. Who's going to come out of the closet for this?
I think we all do.
Well, no, I think we all do, and that's a legitimate concern. But that's not the reason. You don't stay in a marriage because you don't have anything better to run to, right?
Right.
You don't do that.
Right.
You cut your ties, and you deserve better, and you move on. It's very similar. Why are we thinking about this in that context? And honestly, it's not just us. I hear it from all kinds of people that I talk to all the time. Well, who would step in? And I think if there was someone out there that was legitimate that we could rally around, there's a different story there.
To be fair, that really shouldn't be the issue. It should be the merits of whether the mayor should be removed or not for what he did, not for who's out there as his potential replacement.
But I think this is what that's true, but I think that's what people are concerned about. And because of the fact that he's done such a great job and he really has, transcended, we've come a long way.
Absolutely.
And that's reality.
Anybody else would have to learn on the job. Anybody else. Even somebody on council, they would have to learn.
I think it's funny. I see a lot of these guys in suits now.
I know. I've noticed that.
They used to show up in little polo shirts. And
Tom Dwayne is still showing up in tennis shoes and shorts.
Yeah.
Andy Nicholson's now wearing suit and tie.
Yeah.
And others.
And others. Yeah. And others. Zimmer would always show up in his little polo shirt, kind of halfway up his belly. And now he's got a suit on.
You have to consider, too, there are people on the city council who have stolen from a grocery store, pleaded no contest to it, or who have accessed the electronic financial records of a candidate for city council.
Yeah. No, I think...
And they're on the council.
If this goes down, from what I remember, they get 75 days to campaign and get their message out there. And think about it. This would potentially be in a time frame where there's nothing else on the ballot. Who can motivate people? I mean, people joke about Zima would run for mayor and he could easily win, because if he could motivate enough people to come out when there's nothing else on the ballot in a year where people are so sick of politics and they don't even want to engage in the process anymore.
Right.
He absolutely has a chance to win. It's so scary.
May I ask, do you think Guy Zima would be one of the potential candidates?
I've heard that he has considered it. I mean, at this point, why not? I mean, there are people out there that there's nothing better for him to sit there and bark at the mayor for 45 minutes a meeting, right? Than to remove him and then replace him. That would be I'm sure life could just be done the next day
wouldn't-
and he'd be fine.
Don't you kind of want to have a parallel universe where we could see that happen? Because I would like to see him there and have someone else treat him the way that he's been treating.
Well, let's be careful what you wish for. But that's what I'm saying. I feel like, and again, there's a shelf life for people. And it's like these people have been living in this, this house together, and they're just so sick of each other, and they're just constantly power grabbing. And it's so not good for us. And it's bullshit. Like, this is allowed to continue to happen.
So Zima in particular, though, he did the same thing to Jaden. He's the critic. He's always in a critical position. He's always saying no, but in a politically astute way.
You know what though?
I don't know that there's ever been a mayor of Green Bay that he's liked or worked with positively.
Yeah, right.
So, and it's really because it's a power thing. It's not even. It's an ego thing. It's a power thing. This isn't even about the person. So again, we need people to pay attention, to get involved, sign up to run. There is so much out there. There's tons of resources that can help you in terms of running a campaign. Understand and realize that you really do make a difference when you are involved in local politics. It can happen instantly, the change. There are so many people right now, and I'm sure you both of you have heard this. After this election, people are upset. They want something to do. They want to remedy this. They want to get involved. And I went to a meeting a couple nights ago with some progressives that are trying to figure out what to do next. Okay, some of them want people to join the Democratic Party. And I sat there and said to them, you need to get involved in local politics. If you want to see something change, if you want to see something, that you can actually impact literally sometimes overnight, get involved in local politics. And a lot of them looked at me like just glossy, like what? Like the message is not out there loud enough. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping with this episode we can, further the conversation, but I think that's something that people underestimate.
But
yep.
don't you think that that some of these elections and some of these squabbles in city council, don't you think that is a deterrent to get good people to run? Because it is. They don't want to be a part of it.
Because that's what makes the headlines. That's what shows up on the television news at night. As to the atmospherics of the Green Bay City Council, I don't think that'll ever improve, to be quite frank with you, until Guy Zima is off the council. And he could be there potentially for another 10 or 20 years, who knows, because he has just so poisoned the atmosphere, poisoned the process, and people see that and they say, do I want to get involved in that? Do I want to confront that? Do I want to be victimized by that? And he is a great weight around the neck of the city of Green Bay.
And I would agree with you.
And I say that even having worked with him on projects in the past, I go back to for my involvement in or observing local government going back to the 70s, and there was times when I worked with him on projects, and he can be valuable, he can be helpful, he can be positive, he can do good things. But then there's always that other side to him that's so devastating.
I saw last night, though, I saw something happen within the council, and I am seeing this more often. So, and I'm going to call him out, Joe Moore. He's someone that's actually been more vocal about trying to stop the Zima train when it's running full speed. Aldermen can do something. Last night, Dave Nennig wanted a call to question. So he wanted the mayor, to call and ask, maybe this isn't actually productive.
I think Randy Scannell.
Was it Randy?
Randy Scannell called.
It was Randy.
After 45 minutes.
Of nothing. Of literally the same thing he said, because he just, Zim is on a hamster wheel all the time. I think he forgets what he's saying and then he comes back to it. So he kept saying the same thing over and over. So they asked him, can you please stop the debate? So there are tools in place to stop this train. I want to see it happen more often.
The thinking going into the council meeting last night was that people knew in advance that Guy Zima was very upset this issue was going to be revisited. And the thinking was let him vent some, let him express his opinion, which he's entitled to, let him express his opposition, which he's entitled to. But it went on and on and on, and it took 45 minutes until somebody finally called the question. He kept repeating himself. He kept saying this is an illegal meeting. It was not. The city attorney said more than once, this is not an illegal meeting. This is proper. You're entitled to vote on this term sheet proposal that's before you. And it was just, as you said, Rhonda, just a lot of repetition. And there are some procedures on the city council that they try to follow oftentimes enough, and that when you speak, you don't speak for more than 5 minutes, and you're not entitled to speak, or you should not speak more than 2 or 3 times on any one issue. Guy Zima violated all of that last night and got away with it.
He violates that on a regular basis.
And I spoke up as you may know, sometimes I say things from the table that I sit down, and I spoke up half a dozen times last night loudly and to counter some of the things that Zima was saying, because a lot of it was not true. They were lies. He was obfuscating, distorting, and I spoke up. And one of the alders came up to me after the council meeting last night and said, "You should not do that."
Who said that?
I'm not going to name names, but he's a good alder. And he came up to me and he said, don't do that. And he's right, but it's so frustrating to sit there and watch this happen and nobody do anything about it.
Did that alder that
council,
said that to you, could they actually have said point of order?
Which is what I told him.
Good.
You know it's a male, so that narrows it down to
Good.
11.
Right.
But I said he's a bully and he gets away with it all the time. And I said if any other council member were to do this, people would jump on that person right away and say you're out of order. Yet the thinking is, this alder told me, is that they've learned through past experience just to let Mr. Zimmer go on and do his thing and then move on from there. But
And that's
I
it.
think that's giving him a lot of rope.
But he has a huge rope. He has a monster rope, and he's really strangling the
That
city
nobody
with
else has on the council. I've seen other times when a council member has spoken out of turn or said something that was not appropriate, and immediately somebody like a Tom Duane will jump in and say, point of order, that's out of order.
And here's what you can do: if you're a person listening to this or watching these these toxic meetings, you can call your alder person and you can say, you know what, when this goes on too long and this is not productive, and he now is a liability for the city of Green Bay, I want you to say point of order, and I want you to call it out so that the discussion can proceed. They all could be doing that. There's typically only 2 of them that do it on a regular basis. The rest of them sit there and do nothing.
What I told the alder last night, I said, you're all enablers.
Right. Exactly. That's what it is. So
Enablers of bad behavior.
it's not funny anymore. It's not entertaining anymore. It's literally going to cost us as a city.
Absolutely.
And it can even be someone who agrees with the philosophy of what Guy's saying, but they disagree with the methods, right?
Right.
So there are things that they can do. You can say, you know what, this is not productive. We've had enough. You don't get the microphone. You don't get to hog this airtime and do nothing with it and say the same thing you said 25 minutes ago. That's possible.
So
They can be doing this.
Speaking of airtime,
Oh yeah.
I think we're running up against our time. So
Okay.
Can I say one more thing?
that's what I wanted to give you an opportunity to do that.
Last words.
This is kind of sharp-edged. There are some very good people, from my opinion, for what it's worth as an outside observer looking in, some very good people on the Green Bay City Council. They're smart, they're thoughtful, they do their homework, they talk to their constituents, they're willing to sit down with developers, they keep files, they go to meetings, they're well-informed, they do all the right things. But the city, having said all of that, and there's lots of them who do all of that, but having said that, there's a lack of leadership on the city council. There's no one person who can take an issue, who can work it through the procedures of the council, who can get things done, and that's unfortunate. They're good people. Really, in some respect, the only leader is Guy Zima from the other side, if you will. He knows procedure. He knows he can bottle up an issue if he wants to. He tried to do it again last night. He can obfuscate. He can distort. He can suppress. He can manipulate, and there's nobody who knows how to effectively counter that. But simply calling points of order would certainly help.
It would help a lot, and it would make people feel like they're being, served.
Yep.
Really.
Yep.
And I think that there would be more people coming out and engaging in voting for local government, which we all know how pitiful those numbers are.
Yep.
But I mean, really and truly, talk to this about, if you hear this and it registers with you, talk to your friends about it. This should be more of a discussion. I want to talk about this versus Donald Trump. I want to talk about how effective is your city government, county government, school board, and make people realize they actually do have some power there.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks for being here, Bill.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
will you come back in December after we know more about what's happening with the mayor?
Sure, if you'd like.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I would love to. So that wraps up Political Radar, episode number 50. If you'd like show notes, including hopefully a link to our local blogger, Bill Meindl, you can go to politicalradar.com/50. You can join the discussion in the Political Radar community on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook at Elliot C. You can find me on Twitter at Elliot. And how would you like to be found, Rhonda?
I am on Facebook, and I am at Sitnicow on Twitter. Bill, how can we find you?
At Green Bay, just Google Green Bay Development News and go to the last page, and you'll find the latest information about what's going on development issues in the city and the county. Also, I post all the posts that I put on Green Bay Development News, which is part of Skyscraper City. All the posts that I put on there, I also put on Facebook. So just check my personal Facebook page. It's Bill Meindl, Meindl, if you're interested.
Awesome. Thank you. That's all we got. We're out.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Political Radar. To ensure that you never miss an episode, subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. To stay up to date, visit politicalradar.com or connect with us on Facebook or Twitter.